Hey friends, it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel. This might look a little bit familiar to you guys. Today I wanted to just film a new intro to this video where I share what I look for in pattern paper pads when I'm going to purchase them, and also my best tips for mixing and matching different prints on a card with lots of card examples. I originally posted this in a haul video, but I got to thinking a lot of you found this video so helpful that I wanted to post it separately so that you can refer back to it if you want to, or maybe for newer viewers, they don't have to watch the entire haul video. They can just come straight to this for that information on pattern paper mixing. So I'm going to share that video with you guys now, and I hope you enjoy. Okay, so here's what I look for when I buy a pattern paper pad. Number one is going to be the layering possibilities. So what do I mean by that? I usually like to use multiple pieces of pattern paper on a card. So I feel like you get more pop for your layout and your design if you have more than one sheet of pattern paper on your cards. Actually, hold on and let me just look through my cards really quick and see if I have a couple that I can use as an example. Alright, so I've just pulled out a few from my stash. I don't keep a ton of cards in my house because I do send a lot of them out, or like I said, I have a basket at work of cards for sale. But here are some examples of cards with pattern paper. This one here, I have a floral print, and then layered on top I have like a bolder aqua print with a very small detail to it, like a tone on tone. And then here I have 3 different layers. So there's a bold polka dot, there's a blue plaid that matches that, and then we have this floral that ties everything together down at the bottom. Here is one where I've just used 2 patterns, and one makes the frame and then another one makes the inside of the frame. Here is one where I only use just the tiniest bit showing on the outside edges, but that tiny bit of print ties into the print that I did with Copics on the girl's skirt. So if that print weren't there, it wouldn't tie the whole card together as much as having that tiny little bit of pattern behind. Here's another one where a lot of the pattern doesn't show because it's a larger focal panel, but you do see there is 1, 2, 3 layers on there. So we have the green that pulls in all of the green details. We have this blue print with some different colors in it that pulls everything together, and then we have this pop of red at the top and the bottom that pulls in her little scarf on her head. So that gave me, instead of just 1 pop of color, it's 1, 2, 3 pops of that red to pull the whole thing together. Here's another one where I used 3 prints. So we've got a beautiful floral, we've got the nice polka dot on the cream colored background, and then we've got this yellow, almost like one of those Moroccan tiles, just to add another thing on the card. Here's another one where it's just 1 piece on this one, but it really does pull the entire color palette together. So I think that worked really well on that card. And then here's another one where I used 1 as the frame and then another one as the inner frame, and it also just pulls that color palette together. So those are some examples of how I like to layer the pattern paper on the cards. So what am I looking for when I'm picking them out? First of all, I want a variety of prints, and I want a variety of colors, and I also want a variety of sizes of the print on the paper. For example, let's take this Summer Lovin' pad. So what I would pick, I usually like to call it my base print, and then I have a tone on tone print usually if I'm going for like 3, and then I have another like secondary print that has multiple colors that pulls the whole thing together. So for example, if I were using this as my base print, the base print to me, I don't know why I call it the base. A lot of times it does end up on the base of the card. That's what I mean by base print. It is the bottom layer. And usually that is my boldest one. Not always, but a lot of time, because adding the other layers on top of that base print tone it down and make it not quite so bold, but you still get the pops of the bold print in the corners, or what, you know, however you're doing it, top and bottom, if you were just to do this and not the flag banner at the top. So this would be my base print, okay? This here would most likely be my secondary base print because it has all of the colors as the base print combined, but in a completely different pattern. It's also a much smaller pattern with those narrow stripes, so this can lay over this beautifully. Now the one thing that I would like to have in this mix is a tone on tone print. If I were using these, I probably wouldn't layer just these two together because I feel like that would be a little bit too much. It needs something else in the mix to soften it. So I would flip through and look for something. So the check could work because it is a completely different print, but it is a larger stripe than this one, so I probably would not mix those two. The polka dots might work. It is a more colorful print. It's not tone on tone, but it is another size and style of print, so that could work. Let's see. Just gonna flip through. Okay, this one could work. It's not exactly tone on tone, but it's close enough. Pink and red are in the same family, so that could work as another layer to that. You know, if you were to crisscross these across the card. Let's see if there's anything else that would really work in here. Maybe the blue gingham, not, even though it's the same as the yellow, you can see that the yellow is a much stronger color. So the aqua is much more subtle, and it's also the same color as the background on this print. So it would be a more subtle layer in this mix that would help kind of soften all the color going on. So the other option would be to just not include this print at all, and then any of these gingham ones. So maybe I would only use 2 prints on that particular case, you know, and any of these ginghams would go well with that, or the polka dot. I would not layer print on print. I feel like those two would be competing. Same with these two. It's too close to the same size. So I'd be looking for something much more subtle. This could work, but I feel like because there are so many things on here, and because you have those little pops of yellow, which kind of bring them to the forefront, I feel like that would probably be in too much competition with this one. But these two together would be beautiful. Those would be beautiful layers. Absolutely, I would do that. So let me see if there's anything else I can use as an example here. Let's do one of the florals. So let's see. All right, let's do this one because I'm really drawn to this one. So what would I layer with this one? This one would also be very pretty. I feel like these are too much in competition. I feel like this gingham is too similar to the size of these florals, and because it's such a dark color, it's a little bit too bright. I mean, you might be able to get away with it, but I probably would try to look for something that's a little bit more complementary. The green would be better. It's softer and it ties into all the leaves. With the blue, the only thing it ties into is these berries, which are very, very small. There's a lot more of the green leaves, so those would actually work very nicely together. The red, maybe. It's not bad, but again, it's a bit bold, so I probably would steer away from that. The aqua would also be really pretty with this one because it's very similar. You can see that that just almost seamlessly blends together. So, okay, so let's go on to another pad. So that's just what I'm looking for in this one. I'm also looking for color palette. Something that fits the season and that I can just imagine different kinds of images being colored in this palette. So this, I would do so many different beachy things with this color palette. I think this one is perfectly named. Summer Lovin' is perfect for that. All right, so let's go with something that's a little bit more tricky. I feel like this pad is a little bit more tricky to mix together, and I'll tell you why. This one really does have a lot of larger prints. You can see that right from the packaging on the outside. Very similar in size, although this doesn't necessarily denote the size from the inside. But also there's a really wide mix of color palette in this pad. So this one is more tricky. If I weren't really drawn to this color palette and to some of the imagery, this one is probably one I would stay away from. But I think I can make this one work. So let's try to find something. Okay, so say this print that I really love here with the orange and the hot pink. So right on the back, this already tells me that is a built-in perfect print. I love double-sided paper because a lot of times the B side of the paper is a perfect match for the other side. Not always, but sometimes. A lot of people do put their paper pads together that way. So these I would pair together in an instant. I think this pulls in all of the pops of color from this one, and this is a very small plaid print. So this works really well. Even though the florals are small, the plaid is smaller, so that works. Let's see what else. Okay, so this one is tricky. You might pair it with this one. It would pull all the colors together. They have very similar color palettes. If I went with this one, I probably would use small amounts of one of these. So maybe you would use all, your whole card front of this, and then just cut down like a narrow strip of that to go at the bottom, or maybe run through the center, or vice versa. You could use this one as the card base, and then maybe just cut a small strip of that and run it across the belly of your card. Or this one would be a good one. It's kind of hard to show you, but this one would go really well. It pulls in those aquas, and this is a very subtle plaid. Even though it's a larger plaid, the colors are very similar and they're muted in tone, so they would layer together really well. I would not layer this one and this one because there's too much white. So the print is too similar to this one. It has that grid lines, and what I want to do when I'm mixing prints is break up the prints, to kind of pull your eye to different areas of the card. I don't want two prints of the same kind or same style layered on top of those. I don't think, at least for my particular taste, that makes a cohesive look. So what else? Okay, so take this one that I really like. I think this one, see, like I said, a lot of times either the B side or the one right next to it will match really well. So look around in the paper pad, but it's not always. Sometimes you have to do a little more hunting. But I do think that these two work together well. Again, I would probably use this one only in small doses. Maybe just like a side strip down the center of so say it was this card, I would take like this, maybe even a little bit smaller, and maybe just run it here, or even down the center, but I don't know, for some reason I just feel like maybe over to the left would be nice. Also this one would probably work well with that one, or the plaid, maybe not the plaid, because it's too similar. See, you've got the lighter and the darker, and then you've got lighter and darker, and I feel like those could be too close. Maybe just not enough contrast. So I would probably skip that, but maybe that one would be a good one for the grid. or this one as well. That one would work. So this one is really, really nice. I would probably use this for a birthday card. Let's see if we have something. Okay, so you can maybe layer some of that. That has the same color palette in there. So that could work. What else? Is there anything in here? I would not layer polka dots on polka dots, even though they're different size and a different shape. Like I said, I'm trying to break up the print, not use the same thing on top of each other. No. So maybe for this one, I would use a bit of this grid, because the grid is very small lines and it's tone on tone. It's like a light pink on top of a darker pink. So it's very subtle. So those two could layer together nicely. Anything else? Like I said, this pad in particular is a bit trickier. So this might be a case where I would just use like a single layer, like right here on the edges. Just use it as the color palette to pull things together, or like this one here with a smaller focal point so you see more of that pattern paper showing around the edges. So this one would probably lend itself to a bit more of just one layer of pattern paper cards, but there are definitely mixing possibilities in this pad. It's just a bit trickier than some. So let's take a look at this one really quick. Hopefully this is helping you guys. I know this is a bit long, but I really hope that you're getting some value out of this, because I know I get a lot of questions on how to layer pattern paper, or people just say, I wish I could layer pattern paper like you do. And you can. You just need to know what to look for. So let's take a look at this one and see what we could use. Okay, this one is very bold. I like it, but I probably wouldn't use just this, because I feel like would be in competition with your focal panel, if you know what I mean. You know, unless you had a really big focal panel, and then you wouldn't hardly see any of this, and then it's almost wasted to use it because you wouldn't get to see much of it. The smaller patterns are better for, you know, going just around the edges, because you can see more of those colors, which are going to pull your design together. So if you're using a really big print, you really do need a smaller focal panel so that you're showing off that paper to its best advantage. But still, I think it might be too bold. So you could mix it with this one. I definitely wouldn't mix it with this one. I feel like that's too much going on there. Okay, the blue stripe would be nice in there. So you could definitely do like a blue stripe and just use part of this print, or the top, and then the blue stripe down at the bottom of your card. Sorry, I'm imagining the card going this way. So there's ideas for that one. Okay, let's take, okay, this floral matches really well with the pattern that's on the B side. I would definitely combine those. I think that could be really lovely on a card. I would probably use the bottom part of this because it has more of the florals, and then cover up this part with this print here. All right. So what else? We've got this blue polka dot. That could work well with some different things. Definitely with this one here, because it's such a thin stripe. It does have all the same colors, but the thin stripe is much more in contrast with this. Plus it's a completely different color background, but a muted background. So some of these stripes almost disappear into the pattern. Do you see that? I know it's kind of far away from the camera, but like the white, the pink, the yellow, they kind of disappear. So it is a little bit more of a tone-on-tone style print. Not really, but it has the same effect. So that's why those two could work together. I could also mix this one with this floral, but if I did that, I would probably want a third print, and probably not this one. For that case, I would definitely want a more tone on tone. So like for this, if I used this floral in this place, in the place of this base print here, and then this blue polka dot in the place of this polka dot here. I love florals and polka dots together, as you can see. So I would be looking for something to run across that to kind of just tone those two bolder prints down. So it could be that, but it's still kind of a bright color. Let's see what else we have. Anything else? So maybe more of this one. Maybe I would use more of this one. This one is a really versatile print that would go with a lot of things. Let me get back to that floral and just check it out. Okay. Yeah, I feel like that could work really well together. It's kind of hard to see there, but this one, and this one could layer really nicely. I think that's probably what I would pick for that. Okay, so let's do one more. So this party hat, this one would go really well with that because this has nice pops of yellow that immediately draw your eye. So these two would work really well together, and you could definitely just use those two. Or you could mix in the red maybe. If you were going for something like super bright and fun, like a child's birthday card, those could work. Maybe the stripe, depending on how you layered it. Maybe just if you use just a little bit of the stripe, that could look nice together because it pulls in the colors, but it's a much smaller print, and it also ties into like the stripy hat. Or the blue pinstripe again. Those three would work well together as well because this is a much, even though it ties in all these colors, which is a good thing, it's a much smaller, less in your face style print. So I think those three would work well together. So I could go on, but I don't want to bore you guys. So let's get to the last pad just so I have some ideas for you with each of them. Alright, so this one I think is going to be pretty easy because there's lots of tone on tone prints in here. So the trees, the plaids, the wood grain, all of those are going to layer so well. Okay, this one does not have any green in it, this little animal print. So I would definitely choose either the plaid. The plaid would look nice with it. The wood grain would look nice with it. It's kind of hard to show you because they're not next to each other on the pad. I know there was also a blue, well, the blue stars could work because there's little bluebirds in there. There was also a blue plaid somewhere in here. Now these two I probably would not print mixed. Even though the background is the same color, this one has very small icons and this one has very small icons. So even though these are tone on tone, because these icons are so small, I feel like they would be in competition with each other. I swear there was a blue, oh here it is, I'm just somehow missed it. This one would also work really well with this one. But pull in all those little bluebirds. Alright, so let's pick another one. So let's go with this floral that I really like. It has all those really pretty colors in it. This one automatically makes me think of the orange gingham. That's like a match made in heaven. That would be beautiful together. The blue gingham could also work. Where is it? Why do I keep losing that blue gingham? Well, anyway. I wouldn't mix the stars because once again, these are smaller icons and I feel like they're, even though these are tone on tone, they're in too much competition with the size of these. I want different sizes, like I said at the beginning. Different sizes, different styles. Okay, there, the blue gingham works, but it definitely cools this pattern down. So if I were keeping with the summery vibes, if that's what I was going for, I would definitely stay with the orange. I think the orange does more for this print than the blue does. I also would not mix the trees because they're too similar in size, and then that's two kind of bolder prints, so definitely not those. The plaid maybe, but again, normally if these were larger, I would say yes, the plaid, absolutely. But to me, these are in competition because it is a wider plaid with a lot of white in, and then it's just very similar in size. So I probably wouldn't mix these two unless I had something separating them. So if I had this at the very bottom of the card and this at the top of the card, I would want a strip of something in between them. You could probably use one of these strips like the aqua, or even this really creamy color. That would work. Yeah, I would go with the orange. I think that is just perfect. Or you could, no, I wouldn't throw the wood grain one in there because there's no, well, there is a tiny bit of brown in the very center of those flowers, but it's not very much. It definitely doesn't catch your eye, so I probably wouldn't use the brown wood grain, but you could. I mean, if you used a small amount of it, you could. I wouldn't use a very big strip if I went with the brown. So, okay, let's do one more. Let's do these leaves because there's a lot of similar shapes and colors. You know, the colors are all pretty prominent on this one, so there's a lot of options. This one you could use the blue because it's a larger bit of that blue. I think that does pull together nicely. I think this green would also look nice with that. I would prefer the blue. I just feel like that works better. Definitely would not use this. I feel like it's just too similar, even though these are really small. I don't know, to me it just doesn't make either one of these prints pop, and that's what you're kind of going for. You want to help your patterns shine. Would not go with the stars because they are too similar, but you could maybe do this one because it's so subtle and tone on tone. You could probably get away with it. Again, I might put a strip of like the blue in between if I did that one, just to break it up a bit, but I think that's the best option there. But anyway, okay, I really hope this was helpful to you guys. I don't know, hopefully it was. Please leave me a comment and let me know, because I know people have been asking me for a video like this for a really long time. It's just kind of hard to explain what your eye is drawn to, so I hope I did a semi-decent job of it. And I'm back here now in the future just to close out this video. I really hope you guys found this information helpful and that it will give you the confidence to pull out your pattern paper stash, or maybe invest in some pattern papers and start using it on cards. It's just something that I love so much and I'm so passionate about. So I really hope that some of you feel that way as well. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and leave me a comment down below if you enjoyed this content, and I'll see you again soon with another video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye bye.